Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, we talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. In that light, I'm always interviewing guests and entrepreneurs doing things on the cutting edge. And so today we have a entrepreneur, Jesi Carroll. She's an intuitive and also a certified life and career coach. She's an author and speaker, and she's the founder of Design Your Life Academy. So today is going to be talking all about empowerment, you're living your best self, influencing and making impact. So I will let Jesi introduce herself and welcome her onto the show. So welcome.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Yes.
And yeah, a little about myself. I'm kind of a mix of all the things as I've been really evolving into my own craft and becoming more, evolved in what I do. A lot of just other things have come to the surface, like my deepened spirituality, my intuitive gifts, along with it all. So it's been a really interesting journey, but I tell people I've been a mentor, I feel like my entire life and only started to take it professional a couple of years ago. So I have this background in corporate and background in helping, mentor people to really climb the corporate ladder and understand kind of how to navigate that game a bit. But then I found that my passion, even though I can help people do that, I realized that for people to create a life that feels actually empowering and feels like it's actually what they really want, we have to go past resume audits and LinkedIn optimization. We have to go past that. We have to really get to the core of what matters to the person. So oftentimes I'm diving deep into understanding somebody at the core, right? Who are they? And what turns them on? What turns them off? What excites them in life? What do they feel really drawn to? And then helping them learn how to create a career out of that. And so with my business, it's really been kind of a mix of things. So using my corporate background to help people, if that's really, after we do the soul searching, if we're realizing, that's really what's for you, then awesome. Then we go that route and we really navigate, the corporate ladder a bit. But for a lot of people, they're realizing that life isn't for them. And so what I also do is help people start these businesses. A lot of people want to actually dive into becoming life coaches. So I help people, in either capacity, just really get in tune with what is it for them that feels most aligned, and then creating a career based around that. So it's really starting with people first and then, going from there. And that's what creates a life that, excites people. So that's a little bit about what I do, but yeah, it's fun. And it's been a journey.
Yeah. Very fascinating. And what I found very interesting is that this idea of life and career coach, but also using intuitive gifts to help, especially women and professionals, step into their next level. So tell us more about intuitive gifts. I know a lot of people would be interested in that aspect.
And I know that right now, with kind of everything that's changing in the world, the word intuitive can feel a little buzzwordy. So I sometimes don't like to use it. I'm actually kind of taking it off my bio because it's something more I'm like, well, when people work with me, they'll get a feel for that. I don't need to advertise it necessarily. But, when I say intuitive, I really just mean diving into something that's already innately there. So learning how to listen to ourselves as our compass to then be able to move yourself forward in a way that feels really good. Because otherwise, if we're looking for outside resources, or we're doing a lot of comparison of what we think equals a great life, right? If we're looking externally in all these different ways, we're completely leaving ourselves out of the process. And that's where I found that so many women feel lost and just like they don't know what to do, right? So I essentially am just leveraging my gut. And, we all have these intuitive abilities. I'm not anything crazy or unique or different. I've just seen the power of it in my own life, and I've started to realize that it needs to be something that I help other women with. So it's really just doing a lot of, I say, more presence practices. It's not so much meditation, just being still, but it's really just taking in your surroundings, really leveraging your senses, elongating your senses in each moment, and just really understanding that there's so much more than meets the eye. And when you can tune into that, you can start to really tap into this inner knowing that, for me, it sits kind of in my stomach, my sacral, or I guess solar plexus. I don't know. It sits in that area. But for some people, their inner knowing is more in the mind, or it's more of the just they can feel it in their body. It's different for everybody. So I help people tune into where is the inner knowing coming in for you in your body. And then working with them to then start to trust that information coming in, to then decide, okay, so from that information, leaning into the trust, and then saying, okay, so then what are the steps I can do with that information to move forward that feels really good to me and feels like I'm honoring that voice? Because a giant reason we feel lost in life is because we're tuning that out, or we're trying to move so fast that we don't have time to actually hear it. And if we would just pause and stop and just listen to wherever it comes in, and we start to understand our body, that's when we can start moving forward in a more powerful way, and just kind of having more fun in this whole process.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I know, because a lot of people, especially when it comes to, like, for example, spirituality or using your intuition, people, kind of this but it's very powerful. But what happens when so for example, the universe, or your senses, kind of tell you yes or no, but what about the in between, the gray, where it doesn't give you an answer? It's like they just leave it up to you. How do you process those types of inputs?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because and I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm not trying to sound like I'm above anybody or like this massive guru or anything. But what I know from my own experience is that those moments are where the juice is at. And I say that because in those moments of, really, it's called like the void, right? Like this void of like nothingness, that's where all the expansion happens. So in the moment when we can just, in those moments, if we can learn to embrace them instead of fearing them, instead of saying, why is this happening? Saying, ooh, how am I expanding right now? What is about to evolve for me? What is about to form from this? Because we can't, like, something that helps me in these dark times where I'm like, I have no idea how to move, as I think about like a period at the end of a sentence. Something has to end for something then to begin. And so when you're sitting in these dark times, seeing it as like this, you're not in a hole, you're at the period of an end of a sentence. You're in this big circle hole that you're just sitting in it. You're like, okay, so I'm about to start anew. Being able to sit in that, I almost feel like if we try to move through these times, like we try to take control and move before, I'm so passionate. Move before we're I don't want to say healed, right? But like if we try to move before we're really ready, before like we're trying to find answers and take away the chaos with the same mind that created that chaos, like it's going to be so hard, and you're going to end up repeating the same lessons. You're going to have to go through it again. So it behooves you to sit in that long enough to build a new relationship with it. So what I always encourage my clients to do is say, what is this here? How is this here for me? What is this leading me into? How is this actually me expanding and releasing all the stuff that doesn't serve me? And so really, it's in these moments where we're building the trust, we're building this new programming to then be able to be ready for our next chapter that we're being called to go into. I will tell you, a lot of my clients are actually going through very spiritual experiences, and it's something they haven't navigated before. And that's why it's really confusing, because they're like, I felt like I always knew how to run my life, and all of a sudden I'm hitting this stuck point and I have no idea what to do. And I'm like, because it's an experience you've never had before. You've never had to navigate it this way. Of course it's different. Of course it's uncomfortable. So let's build a new relationship with it. Let's be kind, right? Let's kind of just give yourself a break. And then when you can start to do that and feel safer, and you pause a bit and you give your emotions time to, or your body time to catch up, really, with everything that's going on, then you'll have some clarity to then know how to move. But it's almost like these void moments of stuckness are required in order to move aligned. So that's kind of the conversation that I have with a lot of people, even myself, right? I literally, even recently, had to remind myself of this stuff, but I'm so glad to have that information, because it makes me feel like I'm, not just floating around, with no purpose. It's like, oh, this is serving me.
And then you talk about you have a latest book Career Success Secrets, a guide to feeling fulfilled and earning more. So tell us more about that and how you help your clients use that in their lives.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. It's funny because I've always wanted to be an author, but it always sounded too big. So I just kind of put it to the side, but I have like honestly two other books like that are waiting to be birthed. I've written a giant chunk of them and just haven't, it doesn't feel like the right time. But I had this feeling, right? I was tuned in, I'm so tuned into myself that I get a lot of information very like loud now. It's not these little whispers, it's like just create. And so I decided to just write an ebook initially. It was just like, let me just write an ebook to help people navigate some of this career frustration because I spent at the core of what I do, it's helping people just elevate in their career, whatever that looks like. And I was like, I spent 8 years as a corporate recruiter in these really big companies. And I was in an agency for like 4 years. So I really understand navigating different landscapes for all different types of careers, right? I was a tech recruiter, but I was a recruiter in all these different companies. And so I was like, I feel like I just want to put something together, like a cheat sheet to help people understand. Because I was working with hiring managers a lot. I was working with people who were creating the jobs. I was working with people who were, deciding like compensation and like having these kinds of conversations. And so I was like, I just want to give a cheat sheet for how to navigate this world from a recruiter's perspective, right? I'm like, okay, maybe part of it was I'm not about to say that all those 8 years as a recruiter were lost on me. Like I'm doing something with that knowledge. So maybe there was a little bit of ego in there, but it was fun at the same time. So I just brought this ebook to life and also wanted to teach myself how to go through the self-publishing process because I'm very curious and I learn best by doing. I part of it was that, but it was also me just really wanting to put my heart and soul into a cheat sheet to give people a leg up into how to understand like how to best show up for interviews, how to navigate compensation conversations, how to actually go about getting more money than you would have initially received or felt like you deserved. I talk a lot about the mindset of searching for jobs and how to do it and how to change that for yourself so that you are always winning. Right. And so you feel more empowered. And because part of the interview process, part of searching for a job, it can feel so daunting. It can feel like, just like a job in its own. So I want to teach people, I want to feel safer in that process, be their own cheerleader. And just go through that process in a way where you really can't lose and get people more money in the job they actually want. Like there's so many different components to that ebook I created. But yeah, so it's a little bit about that one.
Interesting. Very fascinating discussion. And, I love entrepreneurs who are leveraging their skill sets into new areas and helping a particular audience and using their gifts. Yours is career in corporate and plus your intuition. I know you're on social media. How can people follow you, visit your website and contact you?
Yeah, so right now I am in a bit of a pivot myself. Website and everything's under construction, but not for long. But yeah, so socials, the easiest place to find me is Instagram or Facebook at Jesi Carroll. In there, I have my Linktree link that has access to my books, my own podcast, my YouTube channel, all the fun things if you want to get some cool free resources.
Excellent. And thanks so much. It was a very fascinating discussion, especially on the power of intuition, which I've always used as well. And for all the audience out there, be sure to check out her book. It's most likely on Amazon, and I'm going to check it out as well. Follow her on social media. And again, thanks for a great time, and thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much. This has been really, really fun. And I feel like I'll have to have you on mine to ask you some of these deep dive questions because it's always so interesting to me to ask people about like intuition and stuff too. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks again.